Okay, so before going directly to the firewall, let's first understand why we need a firewall, right? We have to understand what is threat. Whenever the internet is, as you know, internet is the public untrusted space, right? If you connect your internal LAN network directly to the internet, what will happen? You will completely expose your network to the attackers or the malware or some unauthorized access. So these are few example why we need firewall in our network, right? If we directly connect our RDP server in LAN network without the firewall, what will happen? We may encounter with a ransomware attack or some for any major activity like our server can be hacked by the hackers, or we can expose our critical information to the internet, which is not supposed to be happen, right? Or we can firewall not only just protect our network from the outside or from the internet, it will also protect us from the internal threat, right? Internal threat in the sense it can be possible like our one of the system or the laptop is compromised. So in that case, our critical information may be shared with the hacker or over the internet. So firewall also detect this type of issue and prevent this from internal threat. This will also help you to create a boundaries between your internal segment network. How you can do this? Normally we have a multiple ports over the firewall. So we can configure those ports with the different network, and we can divide your network, internal network, in a different segment or in a different zone. What it means, let me complete. Let's say this is a firewall. Normally we have a multiple ports on a firewall. Let's say these are the ports and these are the internal network. So we can divide this internal network to different port. What will happen? Your firewall is completely capable of differentiating this network. So you can also create a boundary between these networks. If you want, you can completely block the traffic of this internal network to this internal network. Same like the router. If you have a multiple VLAN, your VLAN directly cannot communicate with each other, right? Until unless we do some routing like inter-VLAN routing. So firewall can also do the same things. We can create a policy here. We can also specify like one of the IP from this segment can communicate with this one of the IP or the server which is placed in this network. So over we can allow in this firewall like this user can communicate with this server. All these things can be achieved using the firewall. Now coming to the firewall. What is firewall? Firewall is normally a network security device that can help you to monitor your traffic, whether it is a incoming traffic or outgoing traffic. There, it will analyze your traffic based on the rule or the policy defined by your organization. So every firewall contains some policy, and this policy is normally defined by the organization or your upper management. Like if the, for example, if you want your account traffic go to the internet or approved by the your upper management, then you can allow this traffic to go to the internet. If it is not allowed, you can prevent or you can block the internet traffic of account section. It can also act as a boundary or the gateway between your trusted app internal network and the untrusted external internet. How? Let's give you the quick example. Let's say this is your internal network and this is the internet and this is your firewall. So normally all the traffic will go via firewall, right? And you can define here whether the traffic is allowed to pass from here firewall to go to the internet or not. You can define all these things over this firewall, right? So in the same way, it will also act as a boundary for the outside traffic. Whenever any traffic which is coming from the internet, you can specify whether this traffic is allowed or can be denied. All these things can all these things can be achieved by a firewall policy that we can configure over the firewall. You have to define whether this internet effect traffic is allowed or can be blocked. Now, next, see here, I've also added some diagram here like trusted network, like your internal LAN network. This is your untrusted or the internet. You can place a firewall between them and you can specify whether the traffic is allowed or not from the internet or from the local network. Now, coming to the benefit of using firewall in network. First benefit is it prevents unauthorized access to your network. If the user is not allowed to access your in, internal resource or the external internet, you can define here in the firewall. This firewall will only allow the traffic if the user is valid or allowed to access the internet. The second benefit is it will help you to protect from the threat or the malware. This is one of the core feature of next generation firewalls. Like in the next generation firewall, you don't just look for the unauthorized people, it will also look for the content. Like content in the sense ki, what are the type of traffic, whether it is a what are the type of traffic. So next generation firewall is not just block your traffic, it will also look for the content of the traffic. Like it will check whether the traffic is allowed, what are the content of the traffic, like it will check for the SSL or perform the deep packet inspection. It will also look for the antivirus, whether the traffic is or the traffic is packet is containing any virus or any malware in the packet. It will all look for the malware detection, ransomware, phishing attack. All these things can be achieved using the next generation firewall. Okay, so the next benefit or the benefit is like total network visibility. Your firewall also contain the log of your internal traffic or the external traffic. You can check whether user is accessing the right content from the internet or user is allowed to download the file. All these things can be achieved by looking at the log. Policy enforcement, we can enforce the policy by configuring the firewall rule or firewall policy, we can enforce the user whether if the user is allowed to access the social media during work hour or not. We can configure all these things using the firewall policy. We can also block the risky application like torrent or any downloading. If you want to block the YouTube during the work hour, you can also achieve using the firewall. The next benefit is secure remote access. As the firewall is also providing the service of VPN, so you can also configure VPN using the firewall for our remote user who is working from home or from some remote location. We can provide them a secure access to your internal network using the VPN through IPsec or SSL VPN. These are the protocol which is used for the configuring your remote VPN. As I have told you, we can also achieve network segmentation if we have a multiple port over the firewall. We can divide our internal LAN network in different zone. So we can also allow or we can also configure different policy for them for each LAN network. If we have a single firewall port, we can also achieve this network segmentation by creating a VLAN. So we do have an option to configure VLAN over the firewall as well, right? Now, going to the firewall section in deep, let's first discuss about the generation of firewall. The first generation firewall is packet filtering firewall. It introduced in late 1980, approximately 89. The main content or the main feature of the packet filtering firewall is it simply look for the IP header. Means IP header means it will look for the IP address of the source, protocol, and the port number. In first generation firewall, we simply apply some access control list. If user is part of a allowed list, they can simply access the network. If it is not part of the list, the traffic will be blocked. The this first generation firewall is normally introduced by the one of our vendor, which is Checkpoint. Second generation firewall, which is also called as a stateful inspection or stateful firewall, which is introduced in 1990. So as network grow and web browsing become a reality, tracking every single packet with the static rule become a nightmare. Checkpoint introduced the first commercial successful stateful firewall. In stateful firewall, one of the core features is introduced like the memory option. In stateful firewall, memory is introduced, which maintains the session of the traffic or the user session. Now coming to third generation, which is a next generation firewall, NGFW. It introduced in late 20s, 2000, approx 2017, 7 or 8. Palo Alto and Fortinet are the major vendor who introduced this next generation firewall initially. What is the core feature? Core feature include the deep packet inspection, virus scanning, block specific application. It also integrated with the IPS or integrate intrusion prevention system. So let's discuss the packet filtering firewall in detail. This packet filtering firewall is completely work on the ACL. As you know, ACL contains the allowed or denied list. So this first generation firewall only look for the access list. If the user or the IP is the part of a allowed list, it will allow the traffic. If it is a part of denied list, it will simply drop the traffic. What information normally contain in the this type of packet filtering firewall? Normally, it will look for the source IP, destination IP, protocol, and the port number. So we do have some features like first generation firewall is normally fast or very fast, you can say. Why? Because it uses low CPU usage. But it first generation firewall don't have a capability to look on the what is inside the traffic or what is present inside the packet. It will also only look for the IP header. There is one major drawback in the packet filtering firewall for the return traffic. See, as you have only allowed the traffic go from internal to external, so you have to also allow for the return traffic, right? See, you have write a ACL to go traffic from here to this internet. As this is only work on the ACL, so you have to also allow traffic which is coming back to the user, right? You have to also write one, say this is rule 1, so you have to write rule 2 as well to allow this incoming traffic. As you know, this state packet filtering firewall work on the port number. Let's say if this website work on the port 443, but the user port, whenever traffic generate packet created, what the information it will contain, like it contain like source IP, it contains source IP,
destination IP, source MAC address,
no, not source MAC, source port number and destination port number, right?
right?
In packet filtering firewall, you write a ACL using this information like source IP, destination IP, source port and destination port. Normally, you know the destination port number. If it is a web-based traffic or the web browser or for the any website, normally it will use a port 80 or port 80 or port 443, right?
442.
443 for the web-based traffic. But what about the source port? Normally, you know, every time your PC create a traffic, it uses some random port number like 45321, right? So in that case, for the return traffic, you have to write a ACL for the source. Like source IP will be this in website IP, destination IP will be this, source port will be this port number, port 80 or port 4, but the destination port number is this one, right? So you have to allow this port as well in the ACL. As this is a random port number, so you have to allow a long range of port number for the traffic which is coming from outside or the internet.
Hello.
Yes.
I have one question for that.
Hmm.
Can you please come on the slide? Yeah. How can we know that this is a random port number? How can we allow? There is any range we can configure there or what?
So here we have to configure the range of the port number.
Okay, and from this range, it will take random number.
Yes. You see, we can also search for the range of port number used
Extended
by
ACL, extended ACL.
PC. See, this is our port number range. and this is the dynamic of private port number. With this range, within this range, our port, our system created one of the port, right? So this port number can be between anywhere, anything from
Okay.
this range.
And every time it will be changed?
Yes, yes. For
Every time.
each traffic.
No, suppose I have one PC, right? Now I am accessing the HTTP, it means YouTube or something. For every traffic, it will be change the random number or what? It will
Yes,
be
yes.
just like
For if you access a YouTube right now, it will use some different port number. Same time you are accessing Facebook, it will all use this different port number.
got it.
So here we have to allow for the return traffic we have to allow this range of port number. That's what I mentioned here. We have to write a two rule here. Rule one is for allow internal PC to go to the web server or port 443, and the rule two will be like allow the web server to reply back to the internal PC. Here I've also mentioned you have to open a random high numbered port number like 50214 to listen to the reply. Since the network admin didn't know which random port PC would choose, they had to make a rule to incredibly broad, essentially leaving the thousands of ports permanently open to the internet just to allow basic web browsing. What will be the issue or the problem with allowing this broad number of port number? Hacker will know that these ports are always allowed in a firewall, so they can try using this port number to access the internal network. As the basic stateful firewall can't see the virus because it's only look at the port, not the data.